Welcome to the Global WarWatch Network. In just 12 days, the Iran-Israel War of 2025 redrew the map of the Middle East. With U.S. airstrikes, proxy battles, and cyber warfare in full force, has the balance of power shifted for good? Let's unpack what happened.
Today, we're going to examine this pivotal 12-day Iran-Israel conflict. We'll look at its complex origins, the crucial moments of escalation, the involvement, direct and indirect, of other regional and global powers, and, of course, the profound, lasting consequences for the Middle East and, frankly, beyond.
Yeah, our goal here is really to give you, our listener, a concise but thorough understanding of this incredibly complex, really world-changing geopolitical event.
Exactly.
Okay, let's get into this then, because to really understand the Iran-Israel War of 2025, you absolutely have to go back, way back. We're talking decades of, well, animosity, a tension that just simmered and simmered until it boiled over.
It really kicked off, you could argue, almost half a century ago with the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran.
Right. And this wasn't just, swapping out leaders. This was huge. It completely overthrew a monarchy that was, well, pretty tightly allied with the U.S. and Israel.
And that overthrow led to a dramatic, really fundamental shift in Iranian foreign policy. It basically reshaped the entire region's dynamics overnight.
What's fascinating, I think, is how deep this shift went ideologically.
Yeah.
It became part of Iran's, well, its new identity almost immediately.
Absolutely. Ayatollah Khomeini, the revolution's chief ideologue, he was crystal clear about Israel. He didn't just see it as, another country. He saw it as an aggressive outside force occupying Palestinian land.
That wasn't just political rhetoric, was it? It was core belief.
It was deeply ingrained. This anti-Zionist stance became, as some sources put it, enshrined in the revolutionary Iranian stance on Israel. The language was stark. Eradication of Israel, restoration of land to the Palestinians.
And they framed it not just as their goal, but as something for all Arabs, all Muslims. Right?
Precisely. An ambition the Islamic Revolution would fulfill. This became a non-negotiable pillar of their foreign policy from then on.
But, and this is kind of the paradox, despite this big vision, Iran found itself pretty isolated, didn't it? An absolute loner in the region.
Yeah, think about it. Iran, mostly Shia, Persian-speaking, the neighborhood. Overwhelmingly Sunni, Arabic-speaking. That basic difference, that isolation, actually pushed them towards a different kind of strategy.
Right. They had to find other ways to exert influence because direct alliances were tricky.
Exactly. And they figured out pretty quickly how to do that. They saw what resonated across the Arab world.
The Palestinian cause.
Bingo.
Yeah.
They recognized that no other issue speaks to Arab hearts and minds like supporting the Palestinians. That became their strategic foothold.
So initially, they backed Arafat's PLO, who were fighting Israel from Lebanon back then.
They did. But then 1982 happened. Israel invaded southern Lebanon specifically to push the PLO out.
A huge moment. Changed everything on that front.
It did. Israel succeeded in removing the PLO, but it created a power vacuum. And Iran jumped right in. They started training and funding a new Lebanese Shia group.
Hezbollah. Party of God.
That's the one. And Hezbollah made its presence felt very quickly and very violently.
The 1983 Beirut barracks bombing.
Widely attributed to Hezbollah acting for Iran, 241 American servicemen killed. That event, well, it hardened America's views on Iran for decades, left a really bitter taste.
And for Iran, it was a lesson, wasn't it? A brutal one.
A chillingly effective one. It taught them, as some put it, that you could use asymmetric behavior, terrorism, call it what you will, to push the West out. It showed that proxy actions could achieve major goals without direct Iranian involvement. Low cost, high impact.
And they kept adapting this strategy. Fast forward to the 90s, the PLO is talking peace with Israeli Oslo Accords. What does Iran do?
They shift gears. They start backing Hamas, a more extreme Palestinian group.
Hamas's charter explicitly called for Israel's destruction, right? Diametrically opposed to a two-state solution.
Exactly. So as the PLO moved towards diplomacy, Iran doubled down on armed resistance through Hamas. It showed they'd back groups reflecting their own hardline stance.
And this network kept growing beyond just Hezbollah and Hamas, this axis of resistance.
Right. It wasn't just random groups, it was engineered. It included the Houthis in Yemen, Shia fighters in Iraq, all connected, often back to Iran's IRGC.
And this all served their forward defense strategy.
Precisely. The idea was fight the battles over there, Lebanon, Syria, Palestine, so that we don't have to fight in Iran. Shift the conflict away from their border. Very effective, strategically speaking.
Though Iran always denied they were just proxies, didn't they? Claimed they were independent groups.
They did, consistently, which just adds another layer of complexity, trying to parse the reality versus the rhetoric.
Meanwhile, as Iran's building this network, Israel's watching and getting nervous, especially about one thing.
The nuclear program. By the 1990s, Israeli intelligence was increasingly concerned that Iran was escalating and trying to develop a nuclear bomb.
Which for Israel, the region's only nuclear power at the time, was an absolute red line.
An existential threat. And you see figures like Benjamin Netanyahu, even back then, calling for international action against Iran. Some Iranians even claimed he wanted to drag the U.S. into a war with Iran. Shows the level of mistrust.
So Israel didn't just sit back. They started fighting this shadow war.
Right. Not open conflict, but covert. Cyber operations targeting centrifuges, assassinations of key Iranian nuclear scientists.
The goal wasn't total destruction, but delay. Buying time.
Exactly. To delay the program, buy time. As one Israeli official reportedly said, if someone important could be eliminated to cause a delay, they would be. It was cyber attacks, sabotage, agents planting explosives, a whole toolkit to slow things down without triggering all-out war.
And alongside this shadow war, Netanyahu had his Gaza strategy, mowing the grass.
Yeah, that involved these predictable rounds of violence. Hit Hamas hard enough to degrade their capabilities, establish deterrence, keep them weak, but without seeking a final end to the conflict.
Kind of like kicking the can down the road.
Yeah. Some critics definitely saw it that way. An untenable situation, they called it. The argument was it actually let threats fester, creating a perfect storm where enemies could regroup and plan something bigger because there was no decisive action, like pruning a weed instead of uprooting it.
Which brings us right to the nuclear issue itself, the Fordo facility discovery.
A major alarm bell for the West. Iran building this secret underground enrichment site.
Iran denied it was for a bomb, obviously. Said it was peaceful.
The standard line. But they justified digging it deep underground because the repeated U.S. threats, that old line about all options are on the table, gave them a plausible deniability, or so they thought.
This tension eventually leads to President Obama trying a different path, negotiation.
Right. Which resulted in the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA, a big deal involving the U.S., Iran, and 5 other powers.
The core idea was limits on Iran's nuclear work in exchange for lifting sanctions and intense monitoring.
That's the gist. Keep Iran at least a year away from having enough material for a bomb, give the world time to react if they made a dash for it. It was a bet on diplomacy. Containment, not confrontation.
But Israel hated it. Absolutely furious.
Furious is putting it mildly. They felt betrayed. Their principal ally had negotiated behind our backs with our worst enemy. They saw it as a very dangerous and bad deal for peace.
Their main worry was the money, right? That lifting sanctions would just fuel Iran's proxies.
That was a huge concern. Unfrozen assets, oil sales, billions flowing back to Iran. Israel was convinced this would embolden the regime and its proxies, funding Hezbollah, Hamas, the whole axis.
Iran naturally said the money was for their economy. Saw the JCPOA as a diplomatic win.
They absolutely did. A success story of diplomacy, they called it, showed their willingness to engage.
But despite Iran's denials, the axis of resistance did seem to grow stronger after the deal, didn't it?
That's what many analysts observed. And central to that was General Qasem Soleimani, described as irreplaceable, the architect building this multinational army. Afghans, Syrians, Iraqis, Palestinians, all under Iran's umbrella.
Important to distinguish between Hezbollah and Hamas here, though.
Definitely. Hezbollah was seen as much more tightly controlled by Iran, often deterred by Israeli actions. Hamas took Iranian money and training, sure, but was considered more independent, with its own goals that didn't always align perfectly with Tehran's.
Then came 2018, President Trump.
A massive shift.
Huge. He unilaterally pulled the U.S. out of the JCPOA, even though the IAEA, the nuclear watchdog, kept saying Iran was complying.
And that Israeli intelligence coup, getting Iran's nuclear archive, Netanyahu used that dramatically.
Oh, yeah. Big presentation. Iran lied big time. That was the headline he wanted.
Iran called it childish and ridiculous, claimed the documents were fakes designed to push Trump out of the deal.
Standard denials. But Trump was out. And then came maximum pressure. Crippling economic sanctions reimposed. The goal was to squeeze Iran's economy so hard that people would rise up.
That was the stated aim. Force the regime to start spending on nukes and terrorist groups because the population wouldn't tolerate the economic pain anymore.
Did it work out that way?
Not exactly. Arguably, it backfired. It emboldened hardliners in Iran who felt vindicated. See, the U.S. never wanted peace anyway, so Iran actually increased uranium enrichment.
So by 2025, Iran's economy was worse, leaders older, defenses maybe weaker, but they were closer to a bomb.
In a more dire state economically, yes, but paradoxically, perhaps more determined on the nuclear front. President Biden tried to get things back on track, eased some sanctions, tried to negotiate.
But hit an impasse. The trust just wasn't there.
Deep-seated mistrust on both sides by that point. Very hard to bridge.
And while all this is playing out, things inside Israel were getting incredibly tense too, leading up to October 7th.
Yeah, Israel was facing its own internal crises, Netanyahu's corruption scandal, his reliance on very far-right parties.
Which led to massive protests, right?
Yeah.
Biggest in Israel's history.
Huge protests. And Israeli intelligence was actually warning the government this internal division, its effect on the military.
Huh.
Our enemies see this as an opportunity. They literally warned it was creating a perfect storm.
A storm that broke horrifically.
Mm-hmm.
Hamas went to Iran and Lebanon in summer 2023, pitching this devastating plan.
To destroy Israel with an invasion, hoping Hezbollah and Iran would join in immediately after. Iran might not have known the exact date, but the concept was certainly discussed, supported. The architect was Yahya Sinwar, Hamas leader in Gaza.
Then October 7th, 2023, the attack.
Oh,
Just transformative.
utterly. It shattered Israel's sense of security, transformed its security strategy in the region. Netanyahu declared war, launched Operation Swords of Iron.
There was this sense in Israel, wasn't there, that we made a huge mistake allowing the beast to grow close. This wasn't mowing the grass anymore.
No, this was existential, complete rupture.
And the fear of a multi-front war became real almost instantly. October 8th.
Hezbollah starts firing rockets from Lebanon into northern Israel. 60,000 Israelis evacuated. The northern front was open. The Axis was engaging.
And not just Hezbollah. The Houthis fired from Yemen. Shia militias hit U.S. bases in Iraq.
The whole region lit up. And Israel's response in Gaza was intense, aiming to destroy Hamas, take out the tunnels.
But leading to a massive humanitarian crisis. Civilian casualties mounting rapidly.
Terribly. By December, over 30,000 Palestinians reported killed, leading to accusations of disproportionate attacks, even war crimes, ethnic cleansing, genocide from some quarters.
Netanyahu defended it, saying Hamas used human shields. But the international pressure was immense.
Huge pressure. And the U.S. stepped in immediately trying to contain it. Biden's warning, don't, aimed right at Iran and Hezbollah.
Backed by the threat of U.S. firepower, clearly.
Implicitly, yes. And the U.S. administration worked hard to prevent escalation. They pushed back against calls from Israeli Defense Minister Gallant for a preemptive strike on Hezbollah leadership.
Based on U.S. intelligence saying a massive Hezbollah attack wasn't imminent.
Right. That intel gave them breathing room. The Israeli War Cabinet decided against the strike, for now. Huge relief in Washington.
But this led to debates about U.S. arms supplies to Israel, didn't it? Pressure to stop the weapons to rein Israel in.
Significant pressure. But the Biden administration didn't cut off the weapons. Their rationale was that Israel was fighting a multi-front war. Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, militias in Syria and Iraq, even direct attacks from Iran.
So the U.S. felt they couldn't leave Israel high and dry in that situation.
That was the stance. The arms were seen as vital for regional stability, ironically, by enabling Israel to defend itself on multiple fronts.
All of this simmering tension, the proxy fights, the near misses, it finally explodes into open war in June 2025. But there was a trigger point before that, wasn't there? April 2024.
Yes, the Israeli strike on what it called an Iranian embassy complex in Syria killed senior Iranian military commanders.
Iran saw that as an attack on its sovereignty, a major escalation.
They did, and they vowed retaliation. That really lit the fuse.
So June 13th, 2025, the 12-day war ticks off. Israel launches surprise attacks.
Big ones. Operation Rising Lion, targeting key military and nuclear facilities inside Iran. The first few hours were intense.
5 waves of airstrikes, over 200 jets, 330 munitions on 100 targets, including Nathan's.
A massive opening salvo, a real blitz, designed to overwhelm and cripple key capabilities from the start.
And behind the scenes, covert ops were crucial. Mossad, Commandos.
Absolutely critical. Reports suggest they sabotaged Iranian air defenses, missile infrastructure, even set up a covert drone base near Tehran to help clear the way for the jets.
Operations like Red Wedding and Narnia,
Yeah.
taking out generals and scientists.
Reportedly, yes, killing 30 Iranian generals and 9 nuclear scientists almost instantly. A devastating blow to Iran's command structure and nuclear expertise right at the outset.
The target list was extensive too, not just military sites.
No. The Ministry of Justice in Tehran, a refueling plane way out in Mashhad, missile sites, bases, the Foreign Ministry, the Quds Force Command Center.
Fordo and Parchin nuclear sites too.
Yes. Plus, IRGC intelligence chiefs killed. They even warned civilians in Shiraz near weapons factories to evacuate, showed the breadth of the operation.
Iran hit back immediately, right? Ballistic missiles towards Israel.
They did, June 13th. A barrage. Israel intercepted most, maybe 50 or so rockets, but some got through. One landed near Netanyahu's family home. Symbolic.
But the attacks escalated beyond symbolic.
Yeah.
Real damage, casualties.
Yeah, subsequent strikes injured people in Haifa, Kiryat Gat, then the attack on Haifa's oil refinery on June 15-16. Significant damage, 3 workers killed.
Impacts on a school in Tel Aviv, homes, even the U.S. Embassy branch.
Yes, and tragically, an 85-year-old Holocaust survivor was killed in one of the attacks. Underscores the indiscriminate nature.
And the proxies joined in again. Houthis firing from Yemen.
Yes, linking it back to the Red Sea crisis. And Iran accused the U.S. of deception, claiming Washington knew the attack was coming while pretending talks were ongoing. More deep mistrust.
Then the big surprise, day 9. President Trump decides the U.S. is joining in.
Completely unexpected by many. After hinting he wanted a piece of the victory, the U.S. bombed 3 Iranian nuclear sites on June 22nd.
Trump was blunt about it, said he'd bomb Iran again, without question, if needed. Told Khamenei he got beat to hell.
Stark language, a direct U.S. entry into the offensive phase.
Iran retaliated against the U.S. directly.
Fired missiles at a U.S. base in Qatar, direct U.S.-Iran military exchange. Hugely dangerous moment.
So how did it end after 12 days?
A ceasefire on June 24th, reportedly after insistence from the U.S., which clearly wanted to cap the escalation.
And Iran had appealed to Gulf states to pressure Trump for a ceasefire.
Yes, asking Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Oman to lean on Trump to get Israel to agree, an acknowledgement of U.S. influence.
Trump then declared peace through strength, said Iran must now make peace.
Classic Trump rhetoric, framing it as a victory achieved through force.
So the fighting stops, but the consequences,
Yep.
Let's talk about those, starting with the economy.
Yep.
Huge losses for Iran.
Immense. They were already hurting from sanctions, but 2024 and 2025 were devastating. The collapse of the Assad regime in Syria in late 2024 wiped out a $50 billion investment and that crucial land bridge to Hezbollah.
Hezbollah itself was getting hammered by Israeli strikes, despite Iranian funding.
Severely degraded. And Lebanon suffered over $11 billion in damage, which Iran simply couldn't afford to help fix anymore. Add the cost of supporting Iraqi militias. Analysts estimate Iran lost over $100 billion in regional investments.
They just couldn't finance their proxy wars anymore.
They reached a point where they were no longer capable of it, which also made them less attractive to partners like China and Russia who want stability.
And domestically in Iran, the economy was collapsing.
Pretty much. Collapsing currency, rampant inflation, energy shortages, growing deficit, fueling social unrest.
The human caused 2 kids dropping out of school?
Shocking numbers. 167,000 primary students dropped out. Maybe 1 million students leaving education overall in 2023. Severe teacher shortage. Just an unprecedented array of crises by 2025.
Israel paid a price too, though, around $5.9 billion.
About 1% of their GDP. Manageable, maybe, but significant, plus a predicted budget deficit.
And the damage to the Weizmann Institute? That's irreplaceable.
A huge blow to science, not just Israel. Decades of cancer research, samples lost, a tragedy beyond the economic cost.
Globally, oil prices jumped 10% during the war.
They did on supply fears, though interestingly, they dipped after Iran hit the U.S. base in Qatar. Shows how jittery the markets were.
What about the military balance? Did this fundamentally change things?
Big time. Israel's actions against Hamas and especially Hezbollah weakened Iranian deterrence and increased Iranian isolation. The fall of Assad broke that whole ring, that forward defense.
Iran's strategic buffer was gone.
Essentially, yes. The fight was pushed back towards their own borders.
And Hezbollah, the pager attacks, Nasrallah's assassination, they seemed crippled.
Stunning escalation by Israel. The booby-tracked pagers killed or injured thousands. Then Nasrallah taken out by a massive bomb.
And despite Iran's threats about the gates of hell, Hezbollah didn't really retaliate on a massive scale.
No major response. which showed a huge momentum shift. Hezbollah was significantly weakened, its ability and perhaps will to fight severely diminished.
So Israel scored a major military victory, destroyed Hezbollah's rockets, killed Sinwar in Gaza.
That was the perception, a military triumph. Plus, Israeli officials felt they'd set back Iran's nuclear program by years.
Which brings us back to the nuclear question. How badly damaged was the program?
Reports indicated severe damage at Natanz and Fordo. All working centrifuges likely destroyed. Isfahan Research Center hit too, a major blow to the known infrastructure.
But what about the enriched uranium stockpile? Enough for 10 bombs, reportedly. Where did it go?
That's the big question mark. Some think it was moved before the attacks, others think it's buried in the rubble. Nobody knows for sure.
So how big a setback was it really? Months, years? Or did it just make Iran more determined?
Exactly the debate. Some analysts said a few months, maybe 1 or 2 years delay. Others argued the attack just strengthened Iran's ambition to achieve a nuclear deterrent. Maybe even lift the fatwa against nukes, start a real cat-and-mouse game.
And then Iran suspended cooperation with the IAEA, kicked out inspectors.
A very defiant move. Approved by parliament, ordered by President Pezeshkian, prompted Israel to immediately call for the snapback of UN sanctions.
Remind us what snapback means.
It's a mechanism in the original JCPOA deal, allows any original participant like the US, UK, France, Germany to unilaterally force the reimposition of all previous UN sanctions on Iran, even if Russia and China object. A powerful economic weapon.
How did the world react to the war overall? Divided.
Very divided. The UN, most countries called for calm diplomacy. Most Muslim and Arab states, plus Russia, China, condemned the Israeli attack.
But the US, Germany, Ukraine, Argentina said Israel was justified, preventing proliferation.
Right. Clear geopolitical lines drawn. It also strained other relations. Iran accused Azerbaijan of helping Israel.
And the US had to pause weapon shipments to Ukraine because its own stockpiles got low defending Israel.
A startling ripple effect. Shows how interconnected these conflicts are. One crisis impacts resources for another halfway across the world.
One really disturbing aspect was the disinformation, especially the AI-generated fakes.
Yeah, that was unprecedented. First time generative AI has been used at scale during a conflict. Fake videos of Iranian successes, Israeli jets shot down.
And even AI tools couldn't reliably spot the fakes.
Right. Chatbots like Grok apparently identified fake videos as real. Shows the huge challenge of verification now. This flood of fakes was linked to Russian networks too. A new era of information warfare. How do you know what's real?
So looking ahead, Iran's at a crossroads, isn't it? Their old deterrence strategy seems broken.
Definitely. The war exposed its limitations, so now they're forced to rethink their security strategy. There's open talk about changing nuclear doctrine, maybe going for the bomb as the ultimate deterrent.
What are the main scenarios for Iran now?
Broadly, 3 paths. 1. Latent nuclear deterrence. Keep developing the program right up to the edge, have everything ready, but don't formally cross the line or kick out the IAEA entirely. Use that capability as leverage in any future talks.
Scenario 2?
A determined bid for a bomb. Decide an attack is inevitable anyway, so race to build the weapon as fast as possible, accepting the risk of preemptive strikes. Some hardliners might push for this before Trump potentially takes office again.
And the third option? Diplomacy.
Yes, diplomatic negotiation. New President Pezeshkian could propose a fresh approach. Broader talks, not just nuclear, but regional security, sanctions relief, using their nuclear progress as a bargaining chip for wider guarantees.
And the Trump factor looms large over all this.
Hugely. His potential return is seen as a critical existential risk in Tehran. Maximum pressure memories, hawkish advisors, it makes their calculations incredibly difficult, even with some mixed signals about dialogue.
What about the axis of resistance? Despite the setbacks, are they finished?
Far from it. They've shown remarkable persistent adaptability and resilience. They're deeply embedded in governments across the region: Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Gaza.
So they'll try to rebuild, accelerate terror in the West Bank, restore Hezbollah.
That seems to be the plan, according to intelligence. Iran helping rebuild Hezbollah, strengthening Iraqi militias, abandoning the Axis would be a bitter pill for Khamenei. Unlikely to happen.
Plus, the uncertainty around Khamenei's successor adds another layer of complexity. He's 85.
And the Council of Experts is secretly vetting successors. Who follows him could drastically change Iran's direction.
And Israel's posture now, maintaining dominance?
Absolutely. They feel they've achieved unprecedented military dominance. They'll likely continue preemptive strikes, push for more normalization deals to further isolate Iran.
Trying to set new rules of engagement. force Iran onto the defensive.
Exactly. Make the situation more fragile, perhaps, but tilted in their favor. October 7th changed everything for Israel's security thinking. The vow is clear. We will not allow our enemies to build capabilities that might endanger Israel.
So we're in uncharted territory. The power balance shifted, Iran weakened, Israel militarily triumphant, but the whole structure feels shattered.
Completely. A shattered structure. The old order is gone, but it's not clear what replaces it. Where does the dust settle? That's the huge question now.
And as you, our listener, reflect on all this, here's a final thought. In the aftermath of this 12-day war, with both sides claiming victory and major powers pulling different levers, how might the sheer cost economic, human, political of this unprecedented conflict influence the next critical decision on either side? Could it push them towards genuine de-escalation or lock them further into this destructive cycle of cat and mouse?
We certainly hope this exploration is giving you a clearer picture of the Iran-Israel war of 2025 and its incredibly far-reaching consequences.
Thank you for tuning in to the Global WarWatch Network. We really appreciate your time and your participation in this critical conversation. If you found this discussion insightful, please do remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Global WarWatch Network. Your engagement truly helps us continue to bring you these vital geopolitical analyses.
And we genuinely love to hear your thoughts on this complex topic. Please share your insights in the comment section below and join us on social media. All the links are provided there in the description.